Hello, welcome again to another episode of the Bitcoin News Show. I'm your host again, the One Vortex, here talking about Bitcoin every other Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And thanks for joining us from wherever you are on the interwebs out there. It looks like it's going to be just me for a little while here until I have some other guests join in. We wish Gabriel better health. He actually couldn't make it tonight because he's not feeling well. So we hope that he gets better soon. We have a bunch of topics tonight that I went ahead and pasted into the chat that will be going in. And of course, everybody's always welcome to actually join into the chat or join into the show whenever they want. You can join in the chat or go ahead and join in the show as well. We welcome everybody, and everybody wants to come on the show. Anybody who wants to talk about Bitcoin. So let's just see. Let's start out with the first topic a little bit. Start out maybe something with a little fun, because that Roger Ver, I'm thinking about starting a segment perhaps called "What Will Roger Say Next?" because this guy keeps spouting out the most funniest tweets, the most funniest analogies, and shout out to him. He's definitely got to be getting views for this stuff. But sorry, Roger, I'm gonna have to break down another one of your tweets, buddy. This guy basically is saying the tweet was. Let me paste the tweet in the chat, and then I'll tell you what the tweet was. Okay, so the tweet, where'd it go? The tweet was, thinking blocks should always be full is analogous to thinking Starbucks should always be sold out of coffee. Now, there's a couple of really obvious things wrong with this. First off, if you actually want to take it literally, then actually Starbucks stores are always sold out of stuff. It's kind of why we have a trucking industry. I've seen Starbucks and other chains, be out of all sorts of different stuff throughout the years. I've seen them be out of cheese. I've seen them be out of tomatoes. I've seen them be out of all sorts of different stuff. Whether it's a burger place or whether it's just a regular diner, like popular stuff sells out of shit all the time. And that's just kind of how it is, and that's just the way the industry works. And really, my real response, though, is kind of like the analogy. If you want to use that analogy, then basically it's more like this. Really, the blocks, are being analogous to Starbucks always having, full blocks being analogous to Starbucks always having a full store really is like basically having a full store of customers all the time. So if you want a big order, you simply have to place it in advance. So basically, thinking that the blocks, his analogy of thinking that the block should always be full, I shouldn't always be full. In my opinion, I still think, like many other people, like Samson Mao and many other people, think that the blocks are always going to be full. It's like the internet. It was always at capacity. Andreas has done many talks about this, where he talks about the internet, failing to scale gracefully over the past 25 years because people kept calling its death, just like Bitcoin. They kept saying, it's going to overload from too many messages. It's going to overload for too much email. It's not going to support video. It's not going to support real time. It's not going to support this or that. And what happens every single time? We prove them wrong. What about Ethernet? Same thing. Ethernet is never going to scale. It's never going to get past 1 megabit. It's never going to get past 10 megabit. It's never going to get past 100 megabit. And so I really think that the blocks are going to be full. They have to be full for a while, and that's just kind of how it's going to be. And we of course have a ton of technologies that are fixing this. We got on the way. We got Segwit on the way. We got thin blocks on the way. We got Lightning Network. We got Snore signatures. We got, Bloom filters. There's so much stuff that you can hardly pronounce that is actually in the pipeline right now at this point. It's too much to mention. And so these, the fear that comes from Roger and Eric Voorhees lately is just kind of getting a little overwhelming. For me to just kind of sit by the sidelines and not say anything about it. It's like, all right, come on, guys. There's got to be a point to where you look at what's going on, you look at the check-ins, you look at the code, you look at the roadmaps, you look at what's happening, and yes, stuff is a little busy right now, yes, but the sky is not falling. Okay, the store is full. All right, the Starbucks store is full of customers, which is a good thing. It's full of customers. All you need to do if you have a big, huge order is to order a little bit in advance. That's it. Maybe pay a little bit more of a fee. That's all, and that's how it's going to be for a little while until we introduce all of these new technologies. So Roger, again, I love you, man. I follow you, and I love all the work you've done in Bitcoin and for Bitcoin. But man, if you're gonna keep posting out these these tweets, I'm gonna have to keep breaking them down like this. It's just getting a little ridiculous at this point. So that'll conclude the segment of what will Roger say next. We'll see if he says something for next week. You never really know. Of course, wanted to get other guests' opinions. And what they think of this tweet, specifically Gabriel. I like Gabriel's responses. He gets a little mean, but he's just spot on with his logic, and I really appreciate his responses. And so hopefully we'll have a couple guests come in here, and we'll see. Sooner or later we'll see what happens. If not, it'll just be me talking a lot. Let's see what the next topic is. The first topic is this. If everybody could go ahead and before I paste this in, if everybody could go ahead and tweet out the show, share on Facebook, and share out the show. Let everybody know that we're here talking Bitcoin. Trying to get as many people as we can here listening to the show talking about Bitcoin, spreading the word. Because as we know, when you start looking into Bitcoin, you start asking questions like, what is money? Why do we only have one choice? Who makes my money? He starts asking all these great questions, and these are the questions, the fundamental questions about money that we need as a society need to be asking ourselves at this point, because it's clearly the way we've been doing is clearly not working. The way that we've been doing it up until now, handing all the responsibility off to centralized authorities that just end up getting corrupt over time. It's not the way to go. So let's start the first topic. First topic is bid to blacklist the DAO attacker moves ahead with Ethereum soft fork. So basically what's going to happen is, they're going to move ahead with the soft fork. They're going to try to stop the attacker, and then they're going to try to do another fork to be able to move those funds back. And there's going to be multiple forks. There's going to be multiple changes to the blockchain, and then with all of that, in addition to that, there's going to be blacklisting. So we've talked about Ethereum before on the show, and we kind of know our opinions at this point. Basically, yes, you can get, if you played the markets right, you could have definitely made a lot of money. It up like 1100% or some ridiculous number this year. And so if you didn't buy, oh well, you did miss out on that. But the thing is that like other shows have said, we kind of try to focus on the long term. Try to focus on not the flashy new the flashy new unicorn or whatever it is in the newspapers today, gone tomorrow. We like to focus on the long-term technologies, and we're trying to be a little bit of, I don't want to say realists, a little callous, but just want to say people looking at the facts and say, look, there is only one real productive actual blockchain right now live that's actually working, and that is Bitcoin. That's an actual been in production environment, working, proven. Obviously, it had problems in the past. Of course, we've had to do various things and various fixes, and that's fine. And Ethereum, this is their fix time. They got to fix that, and that's great. But I think a lot of people didn't realize that it's just not so simple to create a public secure blockchain, especially with the complexity of a Turing complete programming language on top of it. I mean, to me, it's kind of nuts to put a Turing complete programming language on top of a big pile of digital money. Like that's just scary to me. I just don't think that that's going to work out. I think we're going to crack that egg eventually at some point. I really think we're going to crack that. But damn, if that's not going to be years off and a whole lot more empty boxes in that route. Because remember, Bitcoin solved the digital cash, right? It just has one function, just get this Bitcoin to this address. Like that's it. And of course, now we got cool stuff like multisig, but that's all it ever had to do. And that is what is getting secured, is just a transaction from this to this. That's it. And with that, we have built an enormous amount of security around that. And so now we really can atomically, to the atom, literally atomically prove that this transaction happened at this time. And when you try to go outside of that scope and beyond that, you really start getting into muddy waters, into waters that are untested. And you can't say, oh, look, Bitcoin did it, so we can just put this Turing complete programming language on top of it and we'll be fine. It doesn't quite work like that. There's going to be a lot of additional security hurdles to go over with both Ethereum and the DAO. So with that said, I just kind of want to get that out of the way again. To be honest, I'm still bullish on the idea of smart contracts and possibly more complex programming languages in the blockchain. But for right now, I'm just saying there's just no way it's going to be secure in the next couple of years. It's going to take years to secure that technology. It took 7 years to secure Bitcoin. And that was, again, just moving one transaction from A to B. So you better believe it's going to take many years to secure Ethereum, to make it as secure as Bitcoin. So with that said, people, don't put all of your millions of dollars into these brand new ideas just yet, and at least cap the damn things to like $1 million, because what the hell? We basically gave $150 million to a hacker because, somebody didn't do their homework. Even though, if you look at it, the security hole for the DAO was actually published. It was there. People, then they said they fixed it. It's just the back he said, she said, and you just don't want to. This is what you deal with in the early days, and you have to understand that with that is going to come failures, and there's going to be more failures. There's going to be more bad DAOs. There's going to be more failures before we figure this out. So cap the freaking experiments. I don't want to be anti-free market, but just as a society, as a learning period, understand that we are not ready yet for that, for $1 billion DAOs yet, So let's be mindful, let's be careful, let's be thoughtful of the investors, of the developers, of the ecosystem, and try not to freaking crash this thing before it gets off the ground. Now, let's see, getting back to the article here, basically, what's going to happen is, they're going to end up blacklisting this attacker, and really, this, again, something you can't and shouldn't do with Bitcoin is you're blacklisting accounts. So basically, there is a central authority now in place, like a government, like Tone said, Tone Vase from Brave New Coin, who's often featured on the Bitcoin group. Like he said, when you start blacklisting, it's a slippery slope, because now you have a government, now you have a central authority saying that, guess what, this is okay to change the blockchain. When you change the blockchain and reverse, when you either reversing transactions or blacklisting, you then have a central authority, you then have a government, you then have an entity that is now in control of the blockchain, a centralized entity, no doubt. Now, people can argue, of course, and say, oh, well, look, everybody agreed to it, so it's consensus. This is consensus. Look, the whole point of consensus was to agree on a set of rules so that we don't need to do things like rollback blockchains and things like that. That was the whole point. And so you can't have a consensus to not have a consensus. It's just ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people. And so I really hope that they recover from this. But again, if they didn't do this, there'd probably be no Ethereum at all. So I understand that they have to do this, but just know that this is this is the coin, the type of coin that it is. It is now a coin that can blacklist. It is a coin where Vladik can influence miners and influence exchanges to do what he wants. For example, enforce a fork, soft or hard, doesn't matter, and colluding behind the scenes. This is what we try to escape with Bitcoin: is insider trading, collusion, insider stuff. The Federal Reserve, deciding when to hike rates. That's what we're trying to get away from with decentralized currencies. But it's just not going to happen if we keep rolling back to these certain things. And let's see, did somebody try to join in here? No. Oh yeah, here we go. Accept.
Oh, hello people. Oh, look at that. Haha. Vortex is gone now. I'm in charge. All right, great. That worked out better than I thought. Let's see. Hold on. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Bitcoin News. Oh, this is still recording. Look at this. He's got the recording on. What's going on in the chat room? James says hi. Vortex is back. No.
I sort of clicked the X button. I sort of clicked it. That's my bad. But it's all good. We're back in here. We're back here. We got Dustin back in here from Bitcoin Art Gallery. What's going on, man?
I was that close to seizing power.
Yes, you were. You were going to do it. You were going to be the centralized entity and seize control of the show.
Yeah, over. You were
Very
talking
cool,
about wow, I know. I walked in and you were like talking about it. Oh God.
Yeah, I actually was stating my opinions more than like talking about the DAO, about just guys in Ethereum in general. because that's what always happens when we talk about the DAO. We inevitably start talking about Ethereum. But what I was saying is, let's see here. Yeah, blacklisting is a slippery slope. And then, of course, using forks to open up and close accounts and stop and move funds. I mean, again, that's just the Federal Reserve. That's the freaking Federal Reserve. And so that's what I was saying. And let me pass it over to you, Dustin. I don't know if you got a chance to look at the links or not, but we're talking about the basically the bid to blacklist the DAO attacker.
Well, I told you earlier in the chat that I was unenthused because my enthusiasm was completely wiped out by the DAO wars. Great DAO wars.
Completely gone.
I mean, this has been going on, and he's still stealing the coins. It hasn't stopped. They've only slowed him down.
Yeah.
Okay. So, because I see the notifications popping up, and I just, all right, I believe all of them now. It's happened like 8 times, but Ethereum's gone back up.
Yeah, I'm gonna check the price, but I think it's still like $14.
It went down under 10, and now it has come back up to 14, and the DAO is all the way back up at 10 cents.
Yeah, if that's not proof of collusion, like
7. Well, maybe it was a shakeout.
Right.
Okay, big shakeout. I mean, I was like, I was spooked. I can't imagine how many normal investor type people were spooked. Maybe the whole thing was a psych out because everything I said that the knowledge you'd have to have of that salinity, is it called? Right. Is so
solidity or
solidity
like
is so specific that you would have to be one of the developers.
Pretty much
executed this. So that's the same people who are now asking to fix it. Right. Okay. Well, my decisions of how many of those coins to hold, I'm fine with now. Internally.
I should probably let people know that I did on the run up to Ether, I did buy just a little bit of Ether, literally just to hold and play with. To see
we all did because we all were like, oh, what's this? We'll mess with this because we believed it, and we ourselves did not do deep security audits of their code because that's not what I do. I don't know if that's what you do.
Nope. I mean, I am a developer, but I program in .NET. I program websites. I program
you didn't
web
have time to go through and learn their programming language for their product. You just got some tokens and were messing around with it like I was, right?
Correct.
Right, trying to be like, I'll make a smart contract.
I can do this. It says on their website, anybody can do this.
Anybody can do it. But it also said that it was tamper-proof fault. It was impossible to fraud it.
Yeah.
That was
they've since changed that language, remember? Right?
I got the picture in the gallery. I took a picture of it because I was like,
oh. You can paste that in if you want. That's a funny one.
It was painful because of the editorial cartoons that I normally deal with are usually so polite, and they all went out the window with this because they all bought, a lot of artists bought DAO. Bought Ether, bought DAO. They're like, all right, the new Bitcoin 2.0. I'm in. I'm putting it in. Let's see what happens, and then it's gone.
Hey, I mean, Ethereum went up. Why can't the DAO?
Right. Yeah. And they were all late. They were all late to it. I got my Ethereum on like that weird launch thingy, and I think I stuck whatever I got out of mining or whatever that time into it, and I was like, yeah, I got some weird whatever this is, Ethereum metallic.
It's gas.
Yeah, gas. That could work, but this is such a mess. I don't understand how people talk about this. Like I've been listening to the normal podcast talk about it. What are they? Aren't they worried that one of their own just turned on them and possibly risked the whole project so they could get a shitload? Well,
here's what's up. I think that too many people bought into the idea that Ethereum with a centralized creator and this very, very, very central head figure, I think they really underestimated the damage that could do. And they really underestimated why Bitcoin completely eschewed that, completely left that behind. This really brings into light to a lot of people why Bitcoin is Bitcoin and Ethereum is Ethereum. And people didn't really realize that. Remember, they had a flashy website, they had all of this stuff, they had a plan, they had a roadmap, they had all this stuff. So why not? You know, like why couldn't this be as good as Bitcoin? But people they put the idea of Vitalik being a leader, they kind of put that in the back burner. But now, the very first time we have a security flaw, what happens? Forefront, right in the forefront. Everybody's looking at Vitalik. Everybody's finding, asking him what to do. Everybody's listening. He's got people on exchanges talking to him. He's got people on.
I saw that.
Yeah, you saw the chat probably. He's got miners talking to him. He's got mining pools. I mean, this guy.
They are clearly doing like a weird back channel thing, and that would be so easy then for price running and for anyone who's in the know to drop their coins. So how many private messages did he send out before that? Like we ignored that with Bitcoin because it was so long ago and they were pennies per coin and Bitcoin was worth nothing, so nobody cared who was screwing who over. We put that in the past, but to them it's the right now. They are in that stage of Bitcoin when we've all, that was 8, 7, 6 years ago or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Moved on from that. But for them, it's right now. And it's very painful. It's so painful to watch because he keeps taking their money.
Yeah. It's a painful lesson. Empty Gox was a painful lesson, a 2-year plus long, downward trend. It was a painful lesson to learn. And now they're getting their lesson to learn. And with, hopefully they will learn that, Vitalik, to his credit, he even said, like, I want to see at least 10% of miners running a different fork. To his credit, that is like, a good idea. I mean, but the thing is that we know that back channels, he's probably saying, don't run that shit, run what we're running. But the point is that when you have a centralized actor like Vitalik running the whole show, this type of stuff is no different than the Federal Reserve to me, because you can have front running, you can have insider trading, you can have complete control, coercion, and
not what they wanted.
The works. And so people didn't really realize this, until we had our first security problem. And
I thought the reason R3 liked Ethereum was because it was like the Federal Reserve system for them.
That's why R3 does like it. But
right?
of course, they don't. To be honest, they just like the programming code. They don't even really want the token. Like, they want to create their own token. That's what the banks want. Now, that's going to give into at some point. They're going to have to give in and let that dream go, just like CompuServe and AOL wanted to let the dream of a private internet go, corporate internet go. They're going to have to let the dream of a corporate blockchain go. They're going to have to let that go at some point. And when they do, they're going to choose a token.
That's why I was arguing on Twitter with someone about this. And maybe their previous systems are so insecure that we don't understand. We don't appreciate the level of losses. So even if Bitcoin is, or a blockchain is a stupid way for them to do it, it's some way for them to do it when there was zero. It's 0 to 10.
Well, here's the other thing. There is tons of losses with banks. Like, they get freaking hacked all the time. I don't know if you heard recently, but we're talking 3 hacks in less than 90 days on some of these banks. Horrible stuff. But here's the thing. They're all insured, right? So none of the customers actually felt that. It gets offset in other areas. And so the people didn't really feel that. Here, they have a direct link to feeling it. So before we continue, let me just see if this person is legit. Alex Starr. Let's see if it's a spammer or a normal person. You never know.
You gotta be careful on Blab about that. Yeah, I've seen
that.
Oh
snap! Looks like a normal dude.
I'm normal.
Looks like a normal guy. What's going on, Alex?
I know
What's your
Bitcoin.
name?
I know Bitcoin.
What's your name?
I'm Bo.
Bo? Okay. It says Alexa Star or something on the.
I mean, that's just so, It's the internet, bro.
Cool, man. Cool. So, did you have anything, if you know Bitcoin, right? Do you have any opinion on this crazy DAO explosion, man?
Look, all I gotta say is Bitcoin is the future. I feel like, well, that's all I gotta say, really.
Awesome, man. Hey, at least you got the hardest part down, which is realizing that Bitcoin is the future. So that's the hardest hurdle to get over.
Yeah, Shit, man. I feel like I'm ruining your guys' conversation. I'm gonna dip out.
All right, no problem. Hey, come on anytime, dude.
No, I want to hear what he has to say about the altcoins.
Oh yeah, yeah. What do you think about all the altcoins in your opinion? Well,
What are altcoins?
Like, do you know what?
That's the best answer you could give.
Yes, that is the best answer you could give. That's the best one. That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
I do know, like, I think Bitcoins are here to stay, though. I mean, they've been consistent, that's the thing. Like, yeah.
For sure, 7 years, man. 7 years of running.
Right.
Did you have any questions? Did you have any questions at all about Bitcoin in general?
I like Bitcoin Art Gallery's headphones. It's a cool color.
For sure, man.
That's a cool ass color.
He's got the good stuff. We got somebody else calling in real quick, man. So let me just take this. Let's see. Electricity. Oh yeah, we got Electricity in the show. He comes on here once in a while. We'd like to have him. Electricity Hacker, what's going on, man?
Not much. So the latest thing with me with Bitcoins is I've actually been thinking about signing up with this one service where you buy Bitcoins like locally. So like people hand you cash and then you give them Bitcoins. I've been thinking about doing that lately.
You mean local Bitcoins?
Like localbitcoins.com or?
Yeah, local Bitcoin. That's what it's called.
Yeah, that's a popular one. Yeah.
Yep, that's a big one. That's really helping a lot of people in a lot of countries, especially Argentina and things like that. Venezuela, people are using that a lot in Venezuela.
Yeah, the surge. There's a huge surge. The numbers have gone straight through the roof on those sort of things. But you gotta be careful because you don't want to meet anyone at midnight and they want $5,000.
Yeah. Meet at a public place in the daytime.
Well, how are they going to rob your Bitcoins? That's a little bit different, right? I guess they could do
No. One person has cash.
Yeah.
So the person who has cash got protect.
I would actually be more worried about like fake currency, like fake US dollars, than like fake Bitcoins. So.
Well, yeah, I don't think the worry is about fake Bitcoins. I think the worry is about the cash. Like, right, the guy with the actual cash.
He gives you the cash and you give him the Bitcoin, and then he pulls out a gun and he's like, now you give me the cash back.
Yeah, because you're not worried about the Bitcoin theft, right? You can't steal Bitcoin. You're worried about the cash that's in the guy's pocket.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you, man, did you have any opinion at all on the DAO and the recent events with that?
DAO.
Yeah. I think it a lot has to do with the Eurozone and the British people exiting, and now there's turmoil in terms of the country. So I haven't checked.
Where were you on the Brexit?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is directly related to Brexit.
The DAO?
Yeah. I mean, the world has become international now. So if one country does something, that will affect all the others. So especially a major country like, Britain, it's not like we're talking about Czechoslovakia,
Sure.
Like,
I guess just I guess just mean any opinions on the hack, on the actual hack and what's the ongoing craziness between the white hacker and then the black hacker. Basically, the black hacker is stealing the funds, and then the white hacker is trying to steal it back, and then the black hat stole it back from them.
Well,
any comment on that crazy drama?
Are we talking about the Dow Jones?
Oh, sorry, no, sorry, not the Dow Jones.
He's DAO.
The distributed autonomous organization from Ethereum.
We're babbling about like the last week in Bitcoin news, and that was one of the big stories of it.
So Ethereum got hacked.
An application built with Ethereum got hacked.
Well,
one
a lot of the times it's my first inclination to suspect like the developers and stuff, just because. A lot of times, if you've got a really hardened system, a hack isn't necessarily an easy feat, but it's really easy to pretend like you got hacked.
So what if I told you that they did no security on it?
Well, that just sounds like the developer was deciding that he wasn't getting paid enough and that he was ready for the back door.
So what if I told you that all the major developers got right behind him and thought it was a great idea?
That just sounds like they outsourced their developers then.
No, these are like the guys who built it. From the ground.
the internal core team.
Yeah, they all got behind it, and then they distanced themselves afterwards.
So this is amazing. Ethereum seems to be it's weird because I guess the problem is it really took out Litecoin, Ethereum.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, no, that
and now
that
Ethereum is showing vulnerabilities. See, actually, this is news to me. The last thing I know about was that the Bitcoin rose to about 750, and then it dropped a little bit, and I expect it to continue to start rising back up. But there's been a whole side Ethereum hack that I've missed. So,
oh man, if you missed the DAO hack, that is some fun
good
drama.
You don't want to see it. It's ugly. Ugly. The guy, he's still stealing the money.
He's still stealing it
From the contract.
With a loopback hack, basically an unlimited hack, or what do you call it? It's the infinite loop. It's an infinite loop hack on the contract.
Recursive loop function, I think.
Recursive loop function. There you go.
There's a meme of it.
Yeah. That's what they used on the contract to create a bunch of subcontracts and create a bunch of sub DAOs and move the money. And basically, it's the end result of a Turing-complete programming language in a blockchain.
He told the contract to give him the money, and it keeps giving him the money. It is a perfectly good contract.
It's a perfectly valid. The code's doing what he told him to do.
Doing exactly.
Who's the loser in all of this?
Everyone who put their money into the contract, because it was originally designed for investments.
Yeah.
And it would make investments like a fund or something on its own.
Wow. So Ethereum is tanking.
Well, that's what's really funny.
It
went up to $20, right, when Bitcoin was at $750, right?
Yeah.
Then it tanked on this hack down to $10.
Yeah, just under.
But the hacker is still hacking the DAO, and the price is back up to $14.
So, but when you say the Dow, like that reminds me of the Dow Jones, but that's not the Dow Jones we're talking about.
No, sorry. So it's this application. Can you
decentralized autonomous organization?
Can you give them the link? I'll give them the link.
Yeah. Decentralized autonomous organization. All it is a fancy wall. It's a fancy address where you send the coins to, and you can vote on different stuff depending on how many coins you have in the pool.
Wow.
It's just really all the rest of the script which on top of it.
And they put 100 people put $150 million of Ethereum into this DAO. Version 1.0, and of course the developer's excuse was, oh, well, we didn't expect it was going to get that much attention.
Well, moves to Russia. I hope he moves to Russia or somewhere where they don't.
Dude, seriously, I think this is gonna bring in the big dogs. I think this 150 million attack. I think this is gonna bring in the SEC and the FCC and all sorts of everything else.
He said that.
Well, it really sucks that he named it the Dow because, if that's not a red flag, it almost seems like a false flag. Actually, this is too perfect.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No,
I mean, it really.
The Ethereum people are really into signaling theory, so you could totally be right about that.
I mean, they name it the Dow Jones, or not the Dow.
Why do you think they named it Ethereum?
What?
Why do you think they named it Ethereum?
Because it's ethereal?
What the hell does that mean?
It means nothing. But Bitcoin doesn't mean anything either.
It means like ghost-like, I think.
Yeah.
Ethereal? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, that money slipped right through people's fingers. So if it's it's definitely something. So we'll see. But I think this topic's been beaten to death. So I think we can move on to the next topic. Unless you guys got something else, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just I think it may be one of those things where they try to imitate and then they use like the association. So it's like Bitcoin is similar because it's cryptocurrency where it's mostly just an Ethereum problem. So
no, this is definitely an Ethereum problem. So
well, that there's one last question then. Does that mean that Litecoin is going to go back up because Ethereum was corrupt from the get-go?
Well, Litecoin is kind of up. I mean, it's like $5 or something. I mean, that's up. I mean, when Bitcoin was down to $300 or $400 for like a year, Litecoin was like what, $1 or $2?
Yeah.
I mean, it's more than doubled since Bitcoin's happened.
Did it go back up since like whenever it crashed for a while?
Well, it was up kind of high. Like it went up to like Did it get past $6? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if it got to $8 or not. But it got like around $8. I think right at the height of Bitcoin, 750.
Yeah, that's just it's following Bitcoin's price because it's priced in Bitcoin.
Of course.
Yeah, I suppose everyone's just ready to jump ship and just stay strictly Bitcoin because now there seems to be a lot of controversy.
I'll tell you what. When Bitcoin hit 1,200, Litecoin hit $50 freaking dollars. Now, obviously, it was only $50 for a few minutes, but my God, that's ridiculous. So, I mean, basically, what I'm saying is that could very well happen again. Really, except sorry, real quick, Dustin, but it could not only happen again, but it could happen even in bigger amounts because now we have mass media and media everywhere talking about it, and it can get way more attention than it could before back in 2013. But sorry, Dustin, go ahead.
We've got a perfect storm because the word on the street is that there's going to be a financial collapse while Trump is in office. Yeah. We've got the British people exiting the Eurozone, so the elite aren't going to be happy about that, and they're going to try and push austerity measures, which is going to make people, it's creating an environment where, like, the worse economies become, the more people start to realize that centralized currencies are inflatable and artificial, whereas this is finite and it's decentralized, which has a lot more credibility behind it. So the real problem here isn't necessarily that Bitcoin is going to be some sort of like system where it's not used as much. I don't know what the fuck.
Okay, no problem. Justin, go ahead.
No, you made perfect sense to me. That's like how my own thoughts ramble to myself. Yeah. No, all the altcoins that are successful had a huge pump, a huge rise, and you could look up on the chart. And then there's a second thing, and all the traders know about it, and it makes a particular shape, and then it starts coming down over a long period of time because the trading algorithms are like sucking every ounce of value out of it. And I remember this all from like the beginning of the altcoin trading days because I went through it all. And now Ethereum just seems to have done the same thing, and that's great, good. That's what I don't know if that's what you were created for doing, but I thought it was specifically designed not to do that because that's why he didn't put a block halving in Ethereum, was to smooth out the price over time.
That's interesting.
Because
I think halving would actually smooth out the price tremendously.
Well, he thought it was too abrupt, so he was going to have the same amount of Ethereum printed forever, is the idea with Ethereum. And then that, I guess that just gradually becomes a smaller and smaller fraction because there's so many before it, while Bitcoin actually, halves, right?
And rises in value relative to everything else. I guess Ethereum did rise a little bit, but I mean, again,
I think Ethereum naturally forever
product
value.
Yeah. They needed product differentiation to market it.
That's really what it comes down to. They just needed product differentiation, but that's fine. All right, so I think we can move on to the next. You can trade
fractions of a cent. All these altcoins, they seem to be just kind of more for personal because you can have script versus the specialized, and you can have people running on their desktops, and I guess it's more of an inclusive thing. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, and let's see here. Since we kind of ran a little over on that topic, I want to go straight ahead to this other topic because I'm super excited about it. We're going to move to the segregated witness topic first here. See how much time we have after that. We pasted in the link. Before I paste it in, if everybody could go ahead and share out the show, tweet out, share out on Facebook, let us know, let everybody know that we're talking Bitcoin. Go ahead and you can copy the link at the top, or you can click the little Twitter button on the left or the Facebook button on the left. Let's see.
Oh, anybody want to join in the open seat?
Yeah, and we have one open seat right now, so if anybody wants to join in, that'd be great.
Opinion on segregated witness, now's the time.
I just want to talk about segregated witness. This is the time. Segwit. All right, so here we go. I'm going to start the topic here. The title of this article is Segregated Witness Merged into Bitcoin Core Release. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, there is a whole lot of naysayers on Segwit. Still is a lot of naysayers. But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, Segwit has been merged into core. Now, what does that mean? Basically, that means that the damn thing is done. It's not. It's done and it's merged in. Now all we have to do is wait for the miners to all start basically mining it. They all vote, and once it hits a certain block, and once it's a certain amount of people mining it, it turns on, it gets activated. So I don't think there's a Bitcoin miner on this planet that doesn't want Segwit. So that should be activated pretty quickly. I mean, within a few months, possibly even. So we'll see how that goes. And so I'm really excited to see that. That's going to bring a bunch of cool stuff. Let me name a few things really quickly. Basically, it's going to give us a bigger block size, roughly up to 1.7 megabyte. Yeah, for sure. It's going to so it's effectively a block size increase up to 1.7 megabyte. It fixes a bunch of well-known transaction malleability issues, namely one that was used in the MT-GOX fiasco, and then as well as a couple of bug fixes needed to implement the Lightning Network, because there was a few fixes in there that needed to happen before we could actually begin implementing the Lightning Network. So now, I mean, this is all great news. Again, this is just another awesome, amazing check-in by the core team. So I think we should all just kind of like give them props real quick, like silent golf clap or something. I mean, because that's really, really awesome. I'm really happy to see this. This was a huge amount of code. We're talking thousands of lines, I think. Segwit was like 3,000 lines or something. I mean, it's just off the charts when it comes to core financial system code. Like you don't mess with the internals of this kind of stuff with anything more than a few lines of code, and they popped in 1,000. So this is really important stuff. But that's why it was tested for over a year and then peer reviewed, but for months, for like 3 or 4 months. And then they even got together all together in person to review it. So this is a huge piece of code. This is really awesome for Bitcoin. This is just another step forward in Bitcoin's history, and it's another step forward. It's going to make Bitcoin bigger, better, and faster. Go ahead.
Why did we need to increase the block size to 1.7 megabytes?
So basically, it doesn't actually increase it. It just effectively moves addresses in a way that decreases it. So it kind of shrinks it. It's not actually changing that value. The block size value still says 1. It doesn't actually change to 1.7. You effectively get more space by the way that they're storing addresses now. So it's a bonus. It's a bonus.
There's a lot of pruning.
Okay, yep. I got you.
It's a pure bonus.
Transaction information.
So it's a win-win-win-win, basically. So a lot of people were looking forward to this. This was, again.
So they figured out a way to compress the files and information even more efficiently.
Technically, no. Actually, what they're doing is they're simply not storing addresses in a space that they were storing it before. It gets a little technical. It's not actually compression. They're basically moving addresses outside the block to a different place, so it doesn't have to get that. So that data doesn't have to get actually propagated through the network. It can just live on the nodes. It gets really technical, but suffice to say, I don't understand it much. Like I don't program too much in C. I know C. I'm mostly a .NET developer, but I can tell you that it's not actually changing the block size limit. It's just moving data in a different part of the block, outside of the block, so that it doesn't have to be actually stored there, and we effectively get more space.
All you need is the heads. So you just go around and you cut off the heads and you put them all in the closet. Okay, and then you have a lot less room, right? Because you can sort the heads or something. That's a gross analogy. I shouldn't have used that. I was thinking zombie metaphors.
Too much Walking Dead there, bro. Too much Walking Dead.
This is me live. This is what I'm like live. Horrible.
But yeah, that basically what Dustin said. It just gives you more space. Instead of storing, the full suits, we're still storing the suits, but we're folding them up in the closet, so we get more.
That doesn't sound any better.
I know, but it'll work. So that's that.
So I guess for me, right, the big thing is with any changes, especially to the system that's already been pretty well figured out. My question is, what was the issue? What were they trying to fix?
Multiple things, mainly transaction malleability issues. There was a few transaction malleability issues that this fixes, as well as some other fixes that needed to happen for the Lightning Network to work.
Okay, so yeah, I kind of understand that. The only issues that I remember specifically seeing a while back was something about the way that the Chinese were blocking their internet ports. Sometimes there would be like null blocks created, but I've never. Yeah.
Not sure about that.
Talk about block propagation. where there wouldn't be like enough block propagation. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it was like they were like creating like blocks that were like corrupted or something because of the ports that were blocked on their internal network because China has a big firewall.
Right.
But I don't understand why. Okay, so
Well,
what's this lightning? What's this lightning thing about?
Well, first, real quick, if you want the technical details, man, it's all out there. I think I pasted the link in there, and that link has the actual link to the blog post, and it has all the technical stuff you want. Really cool stuff.
Okay, when we talk about lightning, right? Like,
right.
I guess it matters for the network speed, but I've actually had transactions where I noticed the money in my account in less than 2 minutes. It's usually like 30 seconds. So.
Well, here's what happens. Basically, you get the not the confirmation, but you do get the actual transaction instantly more than most of the time. In fact, I've seen it, instant from wallet to wallet within a second. But then you have to have confirmations, and that takes 10 minutes because of the block confirmations, and that because somebody could easily, double spend that before it gets confirmed. So
they'd have to have like a 51% attack, though, wouldn't they?
No, you could still spend it. You could still double spend it without that. And so basically, for a few minutes, like that can be double spent. That's why instant transactions are not secure. Like you have to give it a few minutes to get a confirmation from the network to make sure that it's secure. Otherwise, you could be fake. So you do receive it instantly, saying that, oh, look, I got a transaction instantly, but you got to wait at least minimum 10 minutes for the confirmation.
Right.
So
the longer, the bigger. Sorry, real quick.
You should talk about the fraction of transactions that would be like that and how small they are. But
here's how it comes down to this. Basically, it boils down to this: the bigger the transaction, the longer you want to wait. Right. So if you got $1 million transaction, I would wait an hour to get like 6 confirmations. At least 6 on that. Now you're talking about a cup of coffee. Well, that could actually wait for 1 or maybe even be instant. It depends on how your network is set up and on how your security is set up and how your infrastructure and software is set up. But the bottom line is you don't want to rely on instant transactions massively on a massive scale. You always want to have minimum of coverage. Now that's all just on chain. Now Lightning Network with payment channels, that's a whole different story, right? Because that's already has the funds locked up on the chain, so you can move it in between the Lightning Network and the payment channels instantly.
Lightning is like escrow, and once it's in escrow, it's faster than normal Bitcoin.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, why would you want to have a third party to hold your money?
There's a myriad of reasons.
Holding your money is also Bitcoin.
There's a myriad of reasons when you start talking about liquidity for exchanges, like the liquidity sidechain. I'll give you one example, but just know that there's a bunch in finance. But here's my favorite one, and that is the Liquid sidechain. Basically, what that project was designed to do is allow exchanges across the world to share liquidity, so that share liquidity of Bitcoin, so that when one exchange like goes down from a hack, the whole freaking price doesn't tank like we've just seen recently. With Bitfinex, it went down for a little bit, and guess what? Freaking tanked the price down like $30-$40. It was ridiculous. And now that wouldn't really have happened if all the exchanges were connected had their liquidity connected on a sidechain. So
that's so nonsensically confusing to someone who might not understand why the price on one exchange when one exchange doesn't have liquidity.
Yeah,
I guess there's a lot of people who are very security minded, and they would be under the impression that having the account in escrow would involve a third party.
Well, again, you can multi-sig, or you can
Lightning is not a third party. Lightning is
Make no mistake. Lightning is a third party because your funds are locked up with that key. It's part of that key. Basically, it is escrow. It is escrow.
Right.
But you can track it all live on, of course, the sidechain or the blockchain. So it is escrow, but it is live and public for everybody to see, so you can confirm. But make no mistake, you don't.
But Lightning is not like Coinbase.
Correct.
So it's not like a company where I hand them my private key and they move my Bitcoin for me cheaper, because it isn't it a protocol on top of and doesn't require its own mining.
The sidechain Man, I don't think it requires its own.
I thought
Well,
it required
side chains require their own mining, I think, too, as well. So yeah, I mean, I think it is.
nodes. I don't know if they require
Yeah, I mean, Lightning Network does centralize stuff. Make no mistake. Like it does create these centralized hubs and payment channels, but it's for a purpose. You know, like it's for massive large transactions. It's for,
You could just choose not to use it.
yeah, and that's the beautiful thing. It's not like the banking system, the current banking system, where they're like, you have to use ACH, you have to use Western Union, one of these, things you have to use. No, you don't have to use it at all. You can just send directly, and that's what's beautiful. It's just to alleviate the 10-minute problem, the problem of waiting 10 minutes. That's all it's there for, and that can help a bunch of businesses do a bunch of different awesome things.
Well, microwave food doesn't taste as good as oven-baked food.
But it sells like crazy, dude. It sounds like crazy, man. Cool.
Well, I think maybe the thing is this might happen, and I may just be a naysayer to new technologies, but I just hope that it's not like one of those insider jobs where one company pretends that like money got stolen from them, but they really just have it, and the entire goal is to devalue.
Yeah, I can tell you that's going to continue happening for a few more years to come. It really is kind of still the Wild West in the Bitcoin space, man. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it really still is.
I think that's a wild exaggeration because the normal financial world is like that, and this is just a microcosm of it.
There's a big difference, man. There's a big difference between the normal financial world and the crypto, and here's the big difference. The difference is that the crypto is one-to-one, man. You and the exchange, you and the coin. There's always a layer of between you and your money in the current financial system, whether that's brokers, whether that's a bank, whether that's insurance.
I meant about the dirty scamming, backdoor, double dealing stuff was already
that's just
the world, and
greed is.
That's been happening for thousands of years. That's not going to change.
Wherever a man is, there will be greed.
Yeah, that's not going to change.
Even if it's on Mars.
It's going to make it harder, right? Like you have to be a freaking hacker now, basically, a really smart person and exploit things, but it can still be done, and it will still be done for a while. Speaking of this reminds me of a great tweet. I forget who tweeted it. Creator Charlie Lee, I believe, creator of Litecoin, tweeted something where he's like, in the future, instead of lawyers, people and companies and corporations will actually be hiring hackers to A, secure smart contracts for their businesses, and B, there was something else. But basically, they're going to, they're going to be hiring hackers to like secure all of this instead of lawyers, because you don't need lawyers anymore. Everything's going to be software, and so a lawyer is not going to do a damn thing to make sure that this contract is enforced, but a hacker can.
You're pro smart contracts.
Well, I can say that smart contracts is going to be really a multi-sig is a smart contract too, if you want to break it down. And I think multi-sig is amazing. So if we can expand upon that, that'd be great. The problem is that the only way that we're trying to do it right now is with a whole Turing complete system, Turing complete programming language. And it's like, you don't need a Turing.
You want to put as much on it as possible for the first run of this. You want to put as much there as possible so you know exactly how much weight it takes to break it.
Yeah. Well, we found the barrier, we found the threshold.
This reminds me of a movie that I recently watched with the AI, and there was a big it was like Money Bomb, I think it was. And it was essentially this guy created this algorithm for stock market exchange, and then it ended up backfiring. But really, the CEO had just turned it off. But so smart contracts are great, and I think both parties have to be smart in order to utilize it, right? Because you have a smart contract with one person who's smarter than the other, that could go pretty bad pretty quickly.
You bet. And this is just another example of software eating the world, right? Software is about to eat all of lawyers. It's about to eat all the financial market. It's already eaten information as far as the media and everything else goes. I mean, it's going to eat all sorts of stuff. I mean, this is literally the part where software eats money. We are now witnessing that as a society, a global society. So very interesting times. Very interesting times.
Well, after it eats money, maybe it eats us.
That's right. That's all that matters in the end, man, is us. So we'll see. Let's do one more article here. Do you guys got time for one more?
Sure.
All right, let's do let's see. I guess we could talk a little bit about Craig Wright, because that freaking dude is pissing me off. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, Craig Wright is actually back, and it's kind of hilarious. Let me paste in the link. Basically, we got the man who claimed to invent Bitcoin now wants a patent empire is the name of this Fortune article. And it's kind of crazy because, I mean, basically, since February, this guy's been filing more than like 50 patent applications in Britain through EITC Holdings. And it's getting crazy. Like, obviously Satoshi would never do this. Satoshi would never actually file all these patents. But he's been filing these patents since before he came out of Satoshi, tried to come out of Satoshi. I mean, it's ridiculous. And now, when all the media actually tries to want to reach him, right, about this patent thing, he can't be found, right? He doesn't want to respond. No comment on anything to do with his patents. Where before he wanted everybody to pay attention to him, right? He wanted to be the center of the show. And now when it actually push comes to shove, when he's doing something that everybody can recognize easily as being wrong, he can't be reached for comment. So I thought that was kind of hilarious too. But at the end of the day, these patents that he's trying to claim and create and take ownership of, I mean, this is basic stuff. He's literally trying to patent the fundamental building blocks of Bitcoin, of any blockchain, really, cryptocurrency or distributed ledger, whatever you want to call it.
I'm surprised he hasn't tried to copyright PGP.
Yeah, I'm serious. This is the level of stuff that he's trying to copyright. Like basically PGP. I mean, literally like securing a transaction. I mean, it's horrible stuff. And so I think that there's no way he's going to get this filed, though of course it takes years to go through the system and such. By that time, I think Bitcoin will have already taken over a bunch of things. But I wanted to see. Let me get your guys' opinions first. Let me get your opinion first, Electricity Hacker. What do you think about this?
I'd actually love it if he got the patent, and here's why. I'd love to see them try to enforce it.
Interesting.
That would be interesting. That would be absolutely interesting.
It would be interesting because I tell you what that would do. That would cause a chain reaction that would, at the end of the day, blow up crypto even faster than if it would have been left alone.
Yeah, it would be pretty hilarious.
That would blow up.
Everybody, I could just see him like posting his QR code, like, please give me the money that you owe me. Like, yeah, no.
Please give me the money that you owe. We're going to shut down GitHub. Then we'll make a decentralized GitHub. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can't stop this technology. I mean, they're trying to slow it down, and they're kind of succeeding a little bit at slowing it down as far as mainstream adoption, but they are not slowing down the technology itself. It's continuing to accelerate with new features all the time. So crazy stuff.
Off the rails vortex.
Dustin,
Craig Wright.
Yeah. So Dustin, what do you think then?
I don't know how much of our audience even knows who Craig Wright is. I don't know what their background is on Craig Wright. I don't know if you just read the Satoshi affair from London Books, the article.
I did not read that, but remember that our only YouTube channel that we exist in is the World Crypto Network.
Right. So, but wait.
So the people are going to know a couple of things, right? They're not going to be technical.
There's always like 5 or 6 people, I think, who wander and are total newbies. And they're just sitting there and they're like, yeah, this is what's going on. I don't fucking understand what the hell these people are talking about.
But and yeah, okay.
To them, oh God, I pity them.
Let's review Craig Wright then real quick, right? Just really quickly. I mean, I just don't know how many people in the world don't know who Craig Wright is at this point. But Craig Wright basically.
We're getting a lot of views on these live shows. You got to consider there's newbies. Yeah. We're not playing fair to them if we don't give them something.
Yeah, we actually did like 800 views on the last show. It's not too bad. Basically, yeah. So Craig Wright, he is the guy that is super well known in the community now for basically being the only guy who actually tried to come forward and self-proclaim himself as Satoshi Nakamoto. He tried to tell the world that he was actually Satoshi. He tried to convince a bunch of the core developers, tried to convince the media, tried to convince a lot of people. And when he couldn't, a few days later, he actually completely quit. He literally, on his website, on his blog, gave a sorry letter saying that he doesn't have the strength to actually come out as Satoshi. He doesn't have the strength to move the coins to prove that he is Satoshi. So he kind of just bowed out. And that was what we thought was the end of it. And then here he comes back again now trying to create all these patents when everybody knows that he's not Satoshi.
Now you're wrong. Now you're wrong because you slipped from fact to opinion very easily there. So
Okay.
that was not what exactly happened. Because if you carefully read the 5,000 word Satoshi Affair article, this is written by a reporter who was interviewing him over 6 months. I written up a whole piece about him being Satoshi, and then the events happened, and then rewrote it and has now republished it. I put it in chat.
He rewrote it?
Yeah, he rewrote it. Well, he updated it. What he did was he took parts he had, and then he explained them in context, and he had some more stuff, so he wanted to take the time to rewrite it.
Right.
And it's a long read. Okay, it's not short at all. It's the story of Craig Wright.
Well, that's fine. Well, I recommend if you got the link. If you got the link, paste it in. I recommend people check it out.
I think it's the last one right there.
It's a pretty fascinating story. I mean, to be honest, you can't make this stuff up. This guy's freaking crazy. I mean, in my opinion.
And he watches this network.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah, because he was following Mad Bitcoins.
Yep.
And Mad Bitcoins found the network, and this would be but you don't think he's Satoshi?
I absolutely do not think that anybody would file.
I think he's Craig Wright.
I don't think that anybody who would attempt to file a patent on open source software is Satoshi.
So wait, now you just described all this stuff to a mythological character. Like you're now saying, I don't think Hercules would have acted this way.
I don't think any person who would have created the system, right, who created an open source system, would go backtrack and try to file patents on it to make money off of it.
But
Art Gallery made a really good point.
You have no reason to believe that he's good. You have no reason to believe that he wouldn't do that, that he wouldn't try to claim credit. Any man could do that. Any person.
Of course, any man can do that. But again, from what we know, it's true. From what we know about Satoshi and all of his writings and all of his posts, we know this much. We know that he would not go back and try to file patents on this system for money. We know that based on his the amount of words that he's contributed to the planet.
I read a lot of his stuff, and I don't think he ever addressed the sort of specific stuff. And the patents that are explained are patents that are, some of them I can understand. If he'd been in Bitcoin for 6 years, he could have independently developed these. Here's some software. Here's some trading algorithms. I want to patent that. And there's other stuff.
Well, so you mentioned Hercules,
clearly against Craig Wright. And I just want to remain completely open-minded here.
Sure.
Because it's so easy to say that he has not proved he is Satoshi. That's fine.
Well, here's the thing.
Anyone else standing up?
Here's the thing. It's so easy to say that. Listen. It's so easy to say that it's so easy to say, but without reading everything that Satoshi has wrote. I've read almost everything he's ever written because I went back to the forums. I've read the white paper several times. This kind of things. So I know he expresses himself a lot in just the amount of words that he wrote.
And how do we know Satoshi is one person?
And so I'm not saying Satoshi is God, and I'm definitely not saying I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm not saying he's perfect, and I'm definitely not saying that Craig Wright is good or bad. I'm saying that Craig Wright is not Satoshi.
So I'm a literature major, and I read, I think, into the context more because you think what you're reading is honest. So I do not assume anything I'm reading is honest. I assume there is a dishonest narrator from the beginning of Satoshi.
With me, I'm a programmer, so I pretty much think in logic most of the times, and so I look at what he's written. I look at the views he expressed. I look at the code that he expressed, the ideas that he expressed with code as well, and I can from that build a bit of a personality and a bit of.
But is that one man, or is it a group of men who are choosing by committing what to say?
I'm just talking about a personality. A personality could be a personality of a group, could be a personality of a country, could be a personality of a person, right?
And you can't say Craig Wright wasn't in this group.
Now that is interesting. That's
even if he is in this group,
I don't know about that.
It's kind of like you snooze, you lose, like SOL.
Like
contact one of your other buddies if you're really part of the core team and ask them for some of their Bitcoins, because clearly if you were a part of it, you should have some of the monies from it. It just seems like
So the background story that he explains in the Satoshi affair is that they are all given to a trustee to be held so that he is not tax liable for the insane gains, and that he will receive them on the year 2020 and do whatever sort of tax things he can do. And if what people wanted was they wanted him to move the coins that were in the trustee's account, and the trustees did not give him access to the coins, so he could not move the coins. So how could he prove he was Satoshi if the coins are no longer under his control?
Well, here's the thing. He claimed for that. Here's the thing. He claimed that they were under his control. He claimed he was going to move, and then he claimed that he became too afraid to move.
That's what he said. Yeah. So you believe everything you're told.
Well, okay. If he's saying,
I believe what he told me.
Especially by Craig Wright. So you believe Craig Wright when he tells you that he doesn't have the courage to move the coins. But
no, I
don't.
don't.
Not believe Craig Wright when he tells you he's Satoshi Nakamoto.
I don't believe that either. I don't believe that he tells me. I don't believe a lot of stuff that actually Craig Wright has said. Because a lot of the stuff that he said has been proven false.
Right.
Over the years.
Stuff he said has been proven true.
What?
Some of the stuff you believe.
No, I'm saying some of the things that he claimed has been proven false over the years.
Right. Yes.
You both agree that he's not legitimate.
Well,
no, I didn't say that. I am totally.
I didn't say that. It's just that
he could be involved.
Yeah, I think that he was. I think that he very much could have been involved from the early days. I definitely think he could have been involved because he was clearly at the conferences, in the early days. So I think that he very much could have been involved. Though I really don't think he was involved in any of the actual programming whatsoever.
So what if he was part of the team that creates it? What if he's part of the Satoshi team? Does he not deserve the credit of those patents?
Nope.
Unless the whole team agreed on it.
And here's why. Because they released it into the world as open source.
Yeah. Well, and he's not talking about patenting Bitcoin. He's talking about patenting stuff around Bitcoin.
Right, but literally the mechanisms that he's trying to patent are the exact.
I think some of them are. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. They're literally they describe exactly what blockchains do in very, very vague terms.
Well, he's not the first person to try to patent Bitcoins. Actually, some major banks have have tried to patent cryptocurrencies. So this whole nonsense of who's got the patent. Well, it's not a physical place. It's not like someone can raid, the Bitcoin store and say, okay, you've got to pay royalties to this gentleman. Yeah. I would say Bitcoin actually operates outside of the scope of most governments' abilities to enforce.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's true. We had somebody in the chat say that, hey, if you were going to be arrested for coming out, would you? Well, here's the thing. He already came out, right? Like he already came out with multiple articles and multiple interviews and multiple things, so like he already came out at that point. So there's no saying that, you're afraid to come out anymore. Like you're already out, dude. You already admitted that you're Satoshi. You already took a bunch of interviews and admitted that you're Satoshi. So saying you don't have the courage to then move the coins that would then prove that you're Satoshi.
That actually makes sense. But the whole deal, if he actually, there's one thing like where you make a claim and there's something else when you actually validate it.
Right.
There's a big difference in terms of attention.
Well, here's the thing. Remember, he attempted to try to validate it too, though. He attempted to try to validate it too with Gavin, with that false, or with that ID, with that hash that already existed in the world.
So do you think he's got like Shkreli syndrome, or he just needs the attention even though he's got the money?
No, I just think he's a scammer, dude. He's done scams in the past. He has a history of scams. He has a history of lies. He has a history of tax fraud.
He's right. This is a strange one. This is a weird world publicity that a normal scammer wouldn't aim at because it's a target on fire. I mean, you don't want.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I'm not gonna say it's not weird, and I find it hard to believe, that again, that he's actually Satoshi. But I tell you what, though, he's definitely close to the project. He's definitely close to the project, and he's definitely trying to patent this stuff. And my opinion is, we shouldn't let him patent the most basic stuff.
Tom is listening. I have some advice for you on how to make some money. Start becoming a rapper and rap about it. Because
yes.
Freeway Rick Ross got his identity stolen by Rick Ross, and that didn't stop the fake Rick Ross for making a lot of money.
That's true. He made a lot of money, dude. Fake Rick Rick Ross or whatever it was. That guy made bank, and his stuff is awesome.
So yeah, just become a rapper.
Just become a rapper. That's all you gotta do. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Daniel joining us in the show from You, Me, and BTC. How you doing, Daniel?
I'm pretty good. I just realized I'm wearing my Pagely T-shirt, which I regret because I hate Pagely. But that's
nice. Cool, man. Well, thanks for joining us, man. Albeit an hour late. No, just kidding.
Now, do you believe that Craig Wright is a false narrator?
I started. I don't know what story we're going off of or anything, but I started reading today a really long narration. I don't even know who wrote it, which I'll look it up here in a second.
The Satoshi affair.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Was it like thousands of pages?
No. It was like a really long web page. Probably like 40, I don't know, 30, 40 pages if it was print. I'll look it up. Maybe it's not, the Satoshi affair sounds right. Anyway, yeah, it was a narration, a lot of story. And yeah, it like you were saying, it was all about how I didn't finish it, so I don't know what the guy's point was, but it was about how they're buying and selling like the rights to Satoshi's story, which just the fact that that's a thing just tells me like it can't be right because he's just trying to make a buck. And they're
interesting.
You can't say that. You don't know the man.
Yeah, no, you're
right.
But
his actions speak louder than words, man. Hey, look, actions speak louder than words, and here's his actions.
It didn't happen.
Claimed to be Satoshi, but couldn't move the coins. Trying to patent everything around.
I'm not saying it is Craig Wright. I'm simply saying you are taking things that you assume Satoshi would or would not do, and you cannot say that because you cannot know what Satoshi would or would not do because you do not know the man. You cannot judge character because
again,
what you are given is like this much. And a lot of it's under question, and you know a lot of it's layers of misdirection. And so when we put our feelings on Satoshi, I know this because I run an art gallery. People put feelings on top of Satoshi and the name.
Here's again, Dustin. I'm going to say it again. Again, I'm a programmer, man. Here's what speaks to me: code. And Satoshi wrote a shitload of code that speaks to me. And speaks an entire that speaks so much more than books could ever speak. The white paper spoke to me so much more than a 1,000-page book, a 1,000-page novel could. That it's ridiculous. Like just way more information coming out of the white paper and the code than a 1,000-page novel. And when you combine all that together, you can get a really big picture. But this picture is very subtle and cannot be viewed by just everybody. And I will definitely agree that most people are doing what you said and just falling into the pit of, I'm just gonna, I don't know, I don't really know Satoshi, but I think he's a good guy. I'm just gonna say he's a good guy. And there's a lot of people that are doing that for sure. But know that when I say it, I'm talking from a point of view of reading a lot of the Bitcoin code, reading the white paper many times, and reading almost all of his forum posts. From that, I can gather this picture. From that is where I'm coming from. Sorry, go ahead.
One thing that I think not everyone, but a bunch of people in the Bitcoin community agree on is that we're not that concerned about it, and we appreciate. And Craig even says this himself. He's like, whether he's being honest about it or just saying it to sound good, I think he's right when he says things like, the community doesn't want to know who it is. They don't want some average dude who gets a little upset when this or that happens and who gets angry at people and who has his flaws. The community wants their own creation myth with the nearly perfect creator. And I agree. I think creation myths are awesome. And that's something that another thing that Craig Wright was supposedly really interested in when he was younger was creation myths. That's one of like the million things that they say he studied. And
he should have made the name an anagram of his name.
Yeah.
You read. So it says in the Satoshi affair why he chose the name.
Yeah, because of his the Pokemon guy, right? Ash.
Yeah, Ash. Ash in Japanese is Satoshi. They named it Ash in English.
Right.
Original character.
Well, yeah, supposedly his mom said that he was always interested in whatever karate and jujitsu and stuff, and he had a great appreciation for the Eastern people, and that's supposedly that could be where the name came from.
Cool. At the end of the day, I think that like Daniel touched on, it doesn't actually matter. But I can tell you what does matter is this asshole going around trying to patent every single thing to do with blockchain and then extorting other companies in the future for money for using those patents, right? So that's what we don't want to happen. So I don't think it will, because again, these patents are very general. But I just don't want that to happen, and so that really is the main, reason why I brought the article on the show, is because I just don't want one person to patent all the core technologies of blockchain. Just like one person doesn't own all the core technologies of the internet. We got somebody who owns MP3, right? We got somebody who owns various different other technologies that we use every day. A lot of it, most of it, is open source, like TCP/IP, open source.
I think it would be beneficial for them to early on try to enforce a patent thing, because that'll give us the opportunity to build an infrastructure to subvert it.
But we don't need that to support it. We're literally the infrastructure to support Bitcoin, because the infrastructure is going to be built around Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the infrastructure. Bitcoin is the internet of money. Bitcoin is the highway that everybody is going to build their houses and apartment complexes and hotels around. So I don't think that we have to change anything. I think that they will change to adapt to Bitcoin, because at the end of the day, like the internet, you have to adapt to it, or you will just get beaten by your competition.
Vortex, we disagree on the Craig Wright issue, but sure. I'd like to point out that maybe there's a way you haven't thought about this. If Craig Wright patents a bunch of a technology associated around blockchain, he could wind up causing an endless patent war with other blockchain associated companies, which is good, because most of the associated blockchain companies appear to be scams, and very few of them are legitimate projects. And maybe we want a giant blockchain patent war where essentially Bitcoin, the protocol, is still unaffected, and people are just arguing rhetoric and spending tons of money on lawyers having to defend their little private blockchain versus the other private blockchain. Because if Bitcoin users are unaffected, don't you want the right to patent as much stuff as possible and go to war for you?
So basically, what I'd say to that is, I don't even think it'll get that far, because I don't think private blockchain will get that far. I think that they will come undone themselves. I think they're already at that stage that you mentioned where they're pointing.
Banks. R3 has 40 banks, and their budget this year is like larger than some countries.
And guess how much code they produced? Guess how much code that anybody can go and actually use? Guess how much code they produced? Zero.
Right.
Goose egg.
So you think it's a bubble?
So here's what it is. It is very much a bubble, because all you have to do right now is say the word blockchain and you will get investment. Now, when that bubble pops, because it inevitably will, because they are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on shit that is never going to have a return, never going to have actual, most of it's going to all be vaporware. For example, like putting insurance on the blockchain and all these things that people just say the word blockchain. I don't know if you listened to that interview that Christy Rose did with a lady named Perry-Ann, but she was literally using the word blockchain to save everything. I mean, might as well have used the word blockchain to save cancer. At the end of the day,
just used 9/11.
Yeah, like seriously, and it was crazy. And when Christy Rose asked her, what is the main thing that blockchain brings to the table? She answered security, and we know that is completely false, because the private blockchain has no security other than the little firewalls that get hacked all the time. Bitcoin is the blockchain that is secure. Bitcoin is the security. There is no other secure chains outside of Bitcoin that are as secure as Bitcoin, because of Bitcoin's proof of work. That's what actually makes Bitcoin blockchain secure, is its massive network, more powerful than all of the supercomputers combined on the planet, together securing those transactions. And so Perry-Ann and everybody else thinks that the private blockchain will bring this type of security to their infrastructure, to their corporations, to their business, and that is a lie. That is false, and that is this entire blockchain industry built on a lie. And when that does come crumbling down, because it inevitably will, because you cannot build very much on a lie when you have the truth sitting right there competing with it, it's going to collapse. And I think that's going to take less than a year before this whole bubble pops of private blockchain because they're going to want return on investments. They're going to expect it soon because, they're banks. They're going to expect that like right now, even though they say, oh, we'll wait a couple of years, 3 years. Now, when they start producing nothing, they will be pulling the plug. And
I want to know what Daniel thinks about
yeah, please. I went off a little bit on that. Daniel first. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care much about patents. I mean, they're gonna, sure, if he patents it, he might patent it and people might argue about it, but I don't think it matters. I mean, Bitcoin came out of anonymity, so no matter how much stuff is patented, people are still gonna invent and create whatever they want to and whatever they can. Yeah,
they're still going to
use whatever works. That's where I agree with you there, Vortex. Whatever's the truth, or I mean, whatever's the best or most helpful is what people are going to use and develop. And I mean, patents, if anything, are going to hinder it, I think. I mean, I see your advantages about him fighting to defend Bitcoin. But ultimately, if anything, if he had a patent, it's going to reduce development because there are going to be people who can add legitimate stuff to it who might decide not to because of the patent and because it's illegal or they might get sued or whatever. So, but at the same time,
I think it slows down, right?
Right.
I think you're saying it slows down.
It slows it down, but I think whatever's going to happen in terms of development is going to happen anyway. So,
yeah,
in the end.
And really, at this point, Bitcoin is so mature that, I mean, by the time these patents actually come into effect within a couple of years, if they were granted, it's like you guys say, impossible to enforce by that time.
It's like if someone could prove that they invented the blockchain in 2005, well, what are we supposed to do? Erase Bitcoin?
Yeah, like, exactly. It's like trying to, it's like trying to patent TCP/IP. Saying that, going back in time and saying, okay, I invented TCP/IP. There's just nobody that's going to give you that patent.
Well, yeah, and so the old saying is, first they ignore you, then they try to silence you, then they fight you, then you win.
Yeah, right. They're definitely trying to silence, I think, is at this point. So for sure, yeah. So the patent thing. So yeah, I think we beat that topic to death. But yeah, I just wanted everybody to know that patenting core blockchain technologies is like patenting core internet technologies. It's not going to work. People will create more than likely an open source alternative to that, and people will use it because it'll be as good and it'll be free. And Bitcoin, really, that's the thing that people don't really understand about Bitcoin is that, or TCP/IP, really, is that there was all sorts of other competitors to TCP/IP. I mean, there were the as you say, Dustin, the banks are getting together now. They got 40 banks, right? Well, the X25 protocol had 4 telecom companies behind it, man. 40 of the largest telecom companies on the planet they had behind that thing, and they still couldn't compete. And with TCP/IP because they charged money, they had patents on it, they expected royalties, expected all sorts of different things along with the use of that X25, where TCP/IP expected none, had no rules, no laws, borderless, open innovation for all. So we'll see what happens, but. Very, very, very interesting stuff. I just don't like patents in general, and we all know, I think, at this point that our patent system in the United States is completely broken. It's been broken. It's been gamed many years. Everybody knows the Disney story, how they, the patent system was supposed to be you only get something for 7 years or so. Then Disney came along and extended that to 30, and then extended it to 50, then extended it to 100 years. And we can definitely look at the patent system and say it's definitely flawed right now at this point, halfway broken and completely gamed. So
well, I think it's totally acceptable to actually patent things that you've worked hard for. I wouldn't call it broken to say that you can have a patent for 100 years. I would call it broken in the sense that it wouldn't be effective in enforcing, and so it's entirely laughable. It's people trying to make something out of nothing, really.
Yeah.
And that's all Craig Wright is. Even if he is Satoshi, which it's less likely, even if he is, it really comes down to, okay, now what? And essentially the now what is nothing, unfortunately. Maybe wraps.
Well, I tell you, if he did prove to be Satoshi by moving the coins, he would definitely have a lot of people behind him. He could definitely sway a large part of the community if he actually did move coins. But He didn't, and nobody has, so nobody is currently seizing that power. And that's good. That power vacuum is absolutely good for Bitcoin.
Have you considered the fact that if I was Greg Wright and I was Satoshi and I published poorly on blog posts and I freak out socially about publishing data and I made bad trustee contracts, but I was Satoshi, I had all the coins, and I was then so mad at Bitcoin that I would sell all my coins? Would I give up on the project because the users have disavowed me? They can't believe in me. Therefore, I, as Satoshi, lose my faith. Because if he's not Satoshi, it doesn't matter. If he is Satoshi and he has all the coins, and maybe all of this was a weird farce to test us, as Satoshi was like some cruel demigod who would test the users of his.
He would have the foresight.
Testing the waters is what governments do all the time, right? The FBI tested the United States a little bit by trying to make Apple open up that phone, right? But Apple refused. So what happened? They backed the fuck off because they know that Apple wasn't going to stand for it, and therefore the users weren't going to stand for it. And so testing the waters is definitely something that's been done, that governments, organizations, and you know.
That's what you see in the Craig Wright.
I don't know. I don't see that. But is that what you're saying, electricity? You see that? You see that as kind of like a test?
Oh, no, absolutely. See, here's where I think it's totally a silly argument, because Satoshi, the real Satoshi, or team of people, whoever it was, would have the foresight ahead of time to validate who they are, as opposed to making baseless claims.
No, but what if the goal was what we saw? What if that was actually the plan? At some point, release a false Satoshi, make him look X-fake by preparing documents that could easily be not credited, but would get in The Economist, but would get in the BBC, but would make news, but would be fake. What if that was the strategy, as in to test the thing?
Yeah, totally. Obviously.
Like, that's totally conspiracy stuff. I know.
I think
it makes sense.
Pushing into that.
No, they're not able to actually take it down cryptographically. So the social engineering tactics are becoming sophisticated. But even then, it's still kind of laughable, because it comes down to the hard facts. You know, the raw computer code. It doesn't really matter whether or not someone makes a claim. You know, interestingly enough, I might suspect that the real Satoshi would be part of the core team, maybe even posing as 2 or 3 people, because he's just so efficient at writing all these lines of code.
Well, let me put it this way. Well, first of all, Satoshi wasn't that great of a programmer, right? He made a lot of mistakes. But second of all, that we've been fixing for years. But second of all, I just really like what you said, electricity hacker, where none of this really matters, because as far as proof goes, if you want to prove you are Satoshi, move the coins. If not, then the discussion, it really should be over, right? We really don't need to discuss anything more unless somebody moves the coins.
Or just go ahead and execute one of your Easter eggs, because you know you're Satoshi and you've got the foresight.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So let me go back here and ask Daniel on a couple of these topics we had. So Daniel, so let me get your opinion on the DAO, the most recent DAO knowledge that you have. Basically, the article we talked about was the bid to blacklist the DAO attacker moves ahead with the Ethereum soft fork vote.
I thought it was fun. I think it would have been the last Bitcoin news show where we were trying to decide if it was like Mt. Gox, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we covered it about a week later on our show, because at that point it had been hacked, and we returned to that same kind of question. And I still agree that it's not the fairest comparison. There's a lot of differences between a centralized Bitcoin exchange and a decentralized smart contract group organization. But I did think it was just kind of funny, though, that hey, that it kind of the same thing happened, where they raised a ton of money and then it just disappeared. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so I had a lot of fun because I also said this on last time I was on the Bitcoin news show that I was gone for a while and I didn't follow much of what was going on at the beginning of the DAO. But once it was hacked, I did a decent amount of research just on how the actual attack happened. And I don't know if there's anything huge to. Well, the another point we made was that on the last Bitcoin news show was that it's the first iteration. It's the first attempt at, or the first serious attempt at something like this. And so that's one of the reasons we were kind of hesitant, or some people were kind of hesitant about it raising so much money, is like, well, we don't know how to structure it. We said pretty much those exact words. We don't know what the best structure is. It's the first iteration. It hasn't been tested. And now that the problems there are pretty clear.
Real quick, the developers did claim that they didn't think that they would raise that amount of money that fast.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wouldn't blame the developers. It's just people, you know. I mean, it's not really the people's. Well, yeah. If you put a million, if you
you're
put
against
millions,
an insider attack, then
what's that?
An insider attack. One of the developers, knowing the bug was there, waiting to exploit it till there was enough money.
Oh, I don't know about that. I hadn't thought about it, and I don't even know who the people in charge really are, so I couldn't say much about that. But the last thing I was going to say is the attack itself, the programming. I read a lot about that, and it was just interesting to me, the whole idea of how they, you know, they exploited the recursion and were able to call more splits before the variables were updated to invalidate more splits.
Yeah.
But doesn't that lend itself to being a developer, because that selection of knowledge of how the code would actually execute versus how it appeared they would execute was different. And only a developer who tested that would know that. That's a small number of people on Earth.
I'm not saying that it couldn't be a developer. I think you're absolutely right. And I think they, a week or two before they started seeing this bug, and they thought they had a patch, and then they knew the patch wasn't perfect. Right. And so the bug was known in a certain way. So yeah, it could easily be a developer or someone who was just following the open source development and said, wait, they found this bug, but it's not quite fixed. So let me take another look at it and take it down. It's could be anything.
Very true.
Are we even on consensus of whether it was a hack or not, or whether it was?
Well, no, we're not. I mean, technically, I'm not even personally. Like, I don't even really personally. I don't consider this really a hack at all. I consider them using the Turing complete programming language on top of the smart contracts in the blockchain, exactly as the code allowed it to.
Yeah, it's true. It worked just like it was programmed to. Which we had a big conversation about that on our show too, like how computers do exactly what you tell them to. And so math is math, an if statement is an if statement.
So it's not a hack, it's a rig. It's a rigged system, not a hack system.
It's an exploit. They saw a loophole and they exploited it. They didn't break anything. They didn't crack any passwords. They found a loophole and they exploited it. I mean,
did they find a loophole or create one?
They found it.
The developer, he could have created it.
Well, that's okay. All right.
Well, here's the thing. They published the error was published, and then the guy said that he fixed it. And what happened was that his fix didn't actually fix it.
Right. So what does that suggest to you?
Yeah.
That the one person who knew that it wasn't fixed could have easily exploited it, or the small group of people around him.
My guess, there's less than 100 people on the planet that actually knew that the exploit still existed. And there's less than 50 people on the planet that knew, less than 100 people on the planet that even knew it existed, and less than 50 people on the planet that knew it still existed after the guy said that it was fixed.
Then how small is it? Daniel, you read how complicated it gets. How small is the number of people who would know how to actually exploit it into child DAOs that would recursively loop?
It's true. The number of people that would just know it, because it was, the overall...
Was this open source?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's cutting edge, so no one has had a chance to review it. It's live before it was audited.
Yeah.
The high-level explanation is just recursion. They called a split within a split within a split. That's the high-level explanation, but you're right. When you get down to it, there's a step after step after step about when they had to execute it and what they had to vote on to make sure that their attack went through.
Well, how long after it was published open source was it hacked?
A few
week
days,
less.
a week, yeah.
That's what's messed up is electricity. They put the live code on the freaking. They put it live less than a week after that attack was discovered and supposedly fixed.
So it could have been a test net in which everything's practiced and they're just looking for exploits, but this was live. This was launched.
They could have made a test net. They could have made a test net. They could have capped it. They could have let everybody know this was a test, but they did not.
But they weren't interested in that.
No one drops their 0 day
team
on a
was
test.
not interested in it.
Yeah.
In performing security audits.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got to perform the security audits. Yeah.
And what if the entire team doesn't? If Microsoft did that, I mean, we would all be like, well, it's time to switch operating systems right there. That's straight up how we make that decision.
I
agree. I get tons of viruses on Microsoft.
I agree that's the conclusion. Well, it's time to switch DAOs, or it's time to restructure the DAO. But I think a lot of people were saying that before the attack even happened. Just like I was saying, everyone knew that it was kind of risky to have a ton of money in a first iteration like this. And so they got burnt. Some people got burnt now, but I think the general consensus is like, oh, wow, this is a big deal and it's kind of dangerous. We need to be careful with what we do with our money here.
Well, let's just put it into perspective. If you're going to drop $1 million into some software, pay some guy $100,000 to at least look at all the code.
Oh yeah,
come on.
Yeah. I mean, $100,000 is a decent salary. So pay an expert, $50,000 to look at it for 3 days.
The DAO had a proposal to do that with its funds, but it was hacked before the proposals were allowed to vote about.
That's awesome. Now, I think we all can agree here that there will be more DAOs. There will be successful ones. There will be more failures first. But we don't think that the idea is not going to happen. The digital autonomous organization, that is going to happen one day. But it's going to be several years away from now because, again, it took us 7 years just to secure Bitcoin. It's going to take us many years to secure Turing-complete languages. If not, it might be an impossible task. We don't know yet, but it's definitely not going to be solved by Ethereum right now. It could be solved by Ethereum over time in the future, but it's not solved right now. Definitely not solved right now. There are still problems and there's unforeseen issues. So we can't assume it to be solved. So therefore, we can't assume, Ethereum we can't assume that this will not happen again. We have to assume that this will happen again with Ethereum.
So is Ethereum an altcoin?
Technically, yes. It's a whole nother network. It's a whole nother blockchain. It's a whole nother coin. And
so I think the smart contracts are actually going to happen on the Bitcoin.
Yeah, and that's what most kind of people believe. A lot of people, though, of course, would call us a Bitcoin maximalist if we said that. But
a smart contract is a weird term that we just made up.
Yeah,
and all it means is a wallet that holds, I don't know, whatever you want. It can hold dollars for all it matters, and it executes code. Okay, that's not, I think, what a lot of people think it is. Well, they think a smart contract is like how they think about it in the cloud. It's like a magical power.
Here's what's funny is that a lot of people don't really realize that multi-sig is like 90% of what a smart contract is due. Yeah. Multi-sig functionality is literally 90% of what a smart contract functionality is supposed to be.
Yeah,
it's just Bitcoin, automating payment systems.
Yeah, even a normal Bitcoin transaction has programming behind it, but it's limited programming. With Ethereum, it's Turing complete, which means it's unlimited programming. You can program anything you want into it, not just programming, hey, I send this money to here.
That's a good point, Daniel, because people don't realize that what Turing complete really means. I mean, Turing complete really, really means unlimited. It means you cannot program it to not have bugs. You cannot basically you're lending yourself to infinity. I mean, it's like, for lack of a better word, you literally, once you give Turing complete to a person, they can build anything. They can build the universe, right? They can build anything out of a Turing complete language. That's why it's Turing complete.
So I thought Turing complete meant it passed the Turing test, which was that computer speech would be unrecognizable.
No. That's the Turing test for artificial intelligence.
Those are two terms. They are very similar, but they are not the same.
Yeah, they're based on the same. Turing is a computer scientist. They're based on the same person, but a Turing complete programming language is like Skyrim. It's so unlimited, it's bound to have bugs.
Yeah, I mean, literally, but we program games like Skyrim with Turing complete programming language. I mean, we program, we program crazy things with Turing complete because Turing complete is essentially infinity. It's whatever you want to do. It literally allows whatever you think to be coded.
So I get that this is supposed to be something that's super amazing, but you can already automate programming of payment systems through macros, right? You could have a macro on your computer and it could figure out.
So Ethereum just puts Ethereum puts the macros inside of the coin
on the blockchain.
So that way,
secured.
It can
it's
be
public,
executed
secured. Yeah.
And autonomously.
Yep.
That's the problem. Is the programming code is existing in the blockchain, in public, in the public.
Well, no, that's not a problem. That's not a bug.
Well, that's how you know it's alive.
Well, no.
Originally Ethereum was never supposed to be able to stop a contract. Originally, the DAO thing could have never been stopped because that was what was promised to us. When I watched the Ethereum, I was like, oh yeah, this is exciting. If a bad thing is created in Ethereum, it cannot be stopped. That was part of the package of Ethereum. Yeah. There was not the option of, oh, we're all going to roll it back.
Oh, gosh.
It was Brexit. We all voted wrong. Okay. Everybody, we're just going to roll it back.
This seems to be meta on top of meta because the original blockchain, you can't reverse a transaction.
You cannot. It was not even. Here's the thing. Yeah. MTGOX, literally like all Bitcoins were pretty much lost in MTGOX, and yet we still didn't even propose a fork. There wasn't even a fork proposal on the table to roll back. We didn't even think about it.
Yeah, we talked about that a ton on our show too, because the libertarian guy, John McAfee, he wrote a piece about
that guy is hilarious.
He wrote a piece about the DAO hack, and he was saying like, hey, they proposed a hard fork and rolling it back, and he wrote a lot about how that's not literally, but it in the virtual world of the blockchain, it is literally going back in time, and it's a whole concept that humans have never experienced, and we've imagined it a lot, but we don't know what it's like. But that's what this would be. And we said on our show how blockchains are internally completely consistent and completely secure. But if humans step in and modify that reality, I don't know. Then it's really confusing.
I liked everything you said until that very last sentence, because obviously humans are the center of everything, right? Like we programmed the blockchain and everything like that. But we understand the point to where basically once we built it, we built it with a certain frame of mind. We built it so that it's immutable. We built it with the idea of it being immutable so that it can never be changed, and by human or otherwise. And so when humans then go back in and then decide to change it, right? That's the problem. It's not necessarily humans. It's just a problem that we went back and we lied to ourselves.
So we're talking of John McAfee, the guy that created the security
program. Yeah, the antivirus.
See, I always uninstall that. I prefer malware.
Oh yeah, you can get free. Don't never ever pay for antivirus. It's free. Just go get it.
And then the other thing too that's funny is he's also the guy that claimed he could have the iPhone hacked, and then
that
never happened.
Yeah, that's what
that by himself in a room alone, no equipment.
Like a Rubik's Cube with the blindfold.
Dude, he could do it with his mind, okay? Yeah. Just his mind. All right, so I think we're done with this.
Matt. He probably Satoshi and
all right, I think we're done with this. Let me ask you, Daniel. What because we also did another article about Segwit being merged. Yes, do you have any opinions on Segwit being merged into the master branch? It's not merged yet into the live branch, into the production branch, but it is merged into the master branch, which then, of course, from there it gets merged into the live production branch.
I don't know the latest news about it, but I remember covering this and reading about it a while ago. And for the most part, I think I only heard good stuff. I mean, it's just helps out with capacity. It's not huge. It's not the end game, but well, from what I remember, is it should be helpful, and it is. I mean, it's secure. It's what what did they decide about? Because don't they have to store the metadata on a separate data structure? It wasn't that part of the idea, is that they would cut out the metadata and store it on a different kind of data structure.
So there was definitely never going to store anywhere but the blockchain, right? Anywhere but, I think, on the block. I think it either stores it to a different part of the block, or it only has
maybe only certain nodes would relay it, because it's not as important and stuff. But regardless, I mean, I heard Antonopoulos saying it was good. I read a lot about it. I never heard a ton of bad stuff about it. So yeah, let's get it in there and have some leeway in terms of.
It does. It burdens the wallets.
It does burden the wallets. The wallets will have to update.
Yeah.
But I mean, people had to move from TCP/IP1 to version 2. HTTP. People had to move from HTTP to version 1 to 2 to 3. Once we got to 4, nobody wants to move. Nobody can move.
Burdening the wallets is actually a big deal, because that's where the Bitcoins are stored.
Yeah, it's basically forcing wallets to upgrade.
Validating the Bitcoins, it simply, I think, would have problems transmitting the Bitcoin transaction out.
Correct.
Unless the wallet was updated.
Yeah, you can completely
leave your wallet, I think.
Yeah, as far as your coins go, your coins are good. Like, you don't even have to touch your coins. That's fine.
Yeah,
you just might have to update your
fork.
Yeah, it's just a soft fork. So your coins are good no matter what. The wallets will have to do some upgrades in order to facilitate sending transactions without error. But your coins are good.
Will they be able to receive without issue as well?
I don't think Segwit.
Well, again, it's the sending. Yeah, it's the sending receiving that's going to have a problem unless you have an updated wallet. And again, even that.
I don't think receiving. I don't think receiving is affected still at all from what I read it, because I was wondering about that. Like, I've got a weirdo old wallet. Do I need to be concerned about that? But the transactions, as far as the blockchain is concerned, of incoming transactions, if they are not Segwit capable, I don't think matters, because the pruning happens anyways.
Correct. That makes sense. Right? I think I remember that. Yeah, that's correct. So, like, receiving could be because it'll just treat it as a normal Bitcoin transaction. But if you send it, then the node has to decide if it's a Segwit transaction or a normal transaction.
You might not, if you sent in a bunch that, like, if you had a wallet that wasn't updated and you sent in a bunch of stuff, it might not update with the full correct balance until the wallet was updated.
Yeah, the coins aren't going to just disappear. Absolute worst case scenario.
I'm saying, if you brought new coins in, those coins might
not
fully arrive.
You won't see them, frequently. But all you have to do is update, and then you will see them. That's the only difference. So worst case scenario is you just update.
That's actually happened before in Bitcoin, because I can remember way back in the day that happened to me.
Yeah. It's
that might have been the Mike Hearn incident where he split the freaking chain.
A chain split? I don't know. I had to do before I got my full balance.
Interesting. So yeah, but this
seems to be a big deal.
Do not put your full savings in Bitcoin, people. We love Bitcoin and we love it, but we definitely don't recommend that you put more than like a percent of your overall.
None of this is financial advice. None of this was even close to financial advice, because
the price
for $200 tomorrow, and all of what we said is still valid, because we weren't talking about the price, right?
Yeah,
just like the DAO, this is Bitcoin still really is the first iteration. It's still brand new. We're still learning all about it and how it works.
7 years is not brand new, and dog years, that's 21 years old. And computers move faster than dog years.
I'm not saying it doesn't have security either, but it's still new. You never know. I don't know.
No, he's right. Like, a Bitcoin year is like 8 normal years.
Yeah, dude. Right. At least. I mean, here's the thing. Here's what's funny about Bitcoin is that software is the fastest moving industry in the world, and Bitcoin moves 5 times faster than that. And it's crazy because, I mean, you literally wait 1 year and Bitcoin has completely changed. I mean, the amount of transactions, the technology that's coming out, everything, the infrastructure, the regulation. You come back 1 year and it's all changed.
Well, maybe call me an old person, but when it comes to Bitcoin, I think the changes need to happen in small increments. And so 3,000 lines of code, that makes me want to go read it, all 3,000 lines. Like I think since it's a multi-billion-dollar thing now, so to integrate,
No, exactly right, like you're exactly right. This is a multi-thousand line update. This is the biggest update we've ever made to Bitcoin in Bitcoin's history. So yes, that is why it was on a test net for over a year before we would even begin to start actually having peer reviews, and then we peer reviewed it for 4 to 6 months.
That's the opposite of what Ethereum did with the DAO.
Yes, the exact opposite. The Ethereum was like the DAO was like, Ethereum guys, can you help us out? We want to launch this thing. Ethereum guys were like, no, maybe later. And DAO was like, fuck it, we're gonna put it up. Pretty much.
Wow.
Pretty much is how that went.
There's always going to be risk, but like I said, I've heard good things about it, and it's burden.
He went straight Bill O'Reilly on him.
Yeah.
I hope they have
do it live.
I would imagine they have some sort of like sunrise period, I think they call it, where like they implement the change, but they it doesn't become effective for 2 or 3 months, which would give the other wallets time to also implement that. I don't know if you guys heard anything about that. I would assume that it would kind of be necessary.
Yeah, there's a huge grace period. I mean, there's a couple week grace period just by the blocks and from the actual propagation, and then there's like a multi-month period of all the miners activating, and then it's
okay. Yeah,
the whole and what it ends up doing is it ends up giving the whole ecosystem time to upgrade.
Yep.
So Daniel, what you need to take away from this is if you don't update your node tonight,
yeah.
all Segwit deals.
Guys, I gotta go. I don't want to crash Bitcoin just yet.
You need to update, or it's over.
Exactly.
The other interesting thing too about that is it's not just 3,000 lines of code. It's actually more because there's multiple different types of wallets. Right? There's Android wallets. There's operating system specific wallets. So all these wallets get updated as well, which is more thousands of lines of code. So this is actually.
There was a list of wallet developers who said they're Segwit ready, and it's most of the major ones, and all the minor ones are working on it.
You're gonna expect all the major ones to be Segwit ready. I mean, this is like the equivalent of freaking Apple rolling out like a new feature. Like everybody, like when Apple rolled out their new UI, I mean, every single app changed their UI. It took a little time, but all the major ones, they were changed right away, dude. They were changed with the launch of iOS 7. And so this is kind of similar. The core team, they don't have Apple's power, of course, but they have a lot of influence. And so when they release Segwit, the whole world has been waiting really for Segwit for a long time. Because remember, this was again announced over a year ago. And so really the world has kind of been waiting for it. So we've been ready and waiting to go. As soon as it's merged, we're good.
So assuming that all these people from Segwit are legit and that all of this works out perfectly, can we just go ahead and anticipate the next thing that needs to happen so that way all the people who are already developing can go ahead and foresee the next things that need to happen?
That's why
and then just develop.
That's why the core team puts out a roadmap. They very detailedly explain the release of Segwit and have been very detailed on its testing. You can look up their blog, and you can look up their blog and check this out. And sorry, what was your question?
So my question is, what's the next evolution after Segwit?
Yeah, so
does there need to be something else?
There's all sorts of stuff. Oh yeah, it's always something. Are you kidding me? Just like that's like asking if Ethernet 1 megabit was fast enough. Nah, dude, it's never fast enough. It's never.
No, trust me, it's fast enough to a certain point. Eventually,
what happens is
complete.
What happens is what Andreas describes. Basically, we reach a certain threshold, and then we invent new shit that we've never thought of before to put on top of it, which forces us to reach another threshold, and then the process repeats. And basically, sorry, Daniel, go ahead.
Well, it's that's some people have people a lot like why does my phone battery always die? Like, aren't they making better phone batteries? Well, yeah, they make better phone batteries all the time, but then we give them more apps and more powerful apps and powerful graphics and stuff, and we need bigger batteries.
We've come out with iOS 8 and the 9 and the 10.
I'm bringing this up for a very strong reason.
Sure.
And that's because although the team right now seems to be trustworthy, there could be a day where there is actually an infiltration within the community. And when that happens, then they could release bad updates, and that could fuck up the entire system.
That's what's beautiful about Bitcoin. That's what's beautiful about Bitcoin. Okay, as soon as let's say a mining pool starts doing bad things, right? We blast them on the internet, and then we ignore their actual
no. The nice thing about Bitcoin is if something bad happens, we can just roll back the blockchain, and then we're good.
That was sarcastic, people, just in case you didn't catch that. But yes, no, So basically, So we when something happens, so if a mining pool colludes or does something bad that the community doesn't like, we blast them on Twitter and on the internet completely, and then we either do something, we either ignore them or force them to change, right? So basically what happens is if the core team decided to do something bad, and really there was a lot of people that didn't agree with what the core team did, and so we had a couple other forks come along, like XT, like Bitcoin Unlimited, like Bitcoin Classic, and the world was given the opportunity to choose. And so there was a lot of people that chose that, right? You could look at the charts and see what percentage of people chose that. And what happened was that only a few people chose it, right? Only a couple thousand out of all of the 7,000 nodes ever ended up really choosing it. And then eventually you saw that consensus that went down because consensus kind of over time basically decided that they're going to choose core team, at least for the next year or two. And so if core team ever screwed up, did something bad, we would just create another fork. Remember, this is open source. So we would just fork it, and someone else would come and compete and give the world the opportunity to choose. So for example, if core said, you know what, we're going to implement this feature that we believe is going to be awesome for Bitcoin, and the whole world decides that's going to break Bitcoin, then somebody else is going to come out with a fork that the world can choose to use the fork. I mean, there's too much money at stake for there not to be competition within the ecosystem. And the way that the actual game theory is set up within Bitcoin's ecosystem is set so that everybody always is watching each other's back, and everybody is always competing with each other. It's kind of at the same time, like all the miners compete with each other, but yet they can all see the transactions being propagated in real time on the blockchain, right? So everybody's kind of like watching over each other's shoulder to make sure that they don't get screwed, and to make sure that the person they're watching doesn't screw them too. That's the game theory that Satoshi set up with Bitcoin, and so far it's been working. So far we've had things like we've had that G hash get more than 50%, and what happened? The community reacted, right? We've seen a lot of people not like Bitcoin Core, so we've seen a couple other forks happen, right? So we're seeing it in play. And so far, it seems to be working. It's only 7 years in, but
I think it's Horace. I don't know, Caitlyn Jenner, whatever, commenting that the problem with voting on Bitcoin is that two mining pools can. You're right. I don't know. Is that two mining pools can decide on a vote. But the problem there is that mining pools are the same way. You can come and go as you wish, and if the mining pool is doing something you hate, you can leave. You can make a new mining pool. Whatever.
And that's what happened to Ghash. Fucking people left it, dude. People straight left it. People who were making money sacrificed their actual profits for their ideals. And that's not really done in many other industries. But it's not.
It wasn't even their ideals too, because if they destroy the thing that they're helping to mine, well, then the thing that they own becomes worthless.
That too,
it's in their best interest.
Exactly, and that's what another part of the game theory. Basically, what ends up happening with the game theory here is that it does not pay to game the system. It does not pay to be a bad actor. It pays far, far more to be a good actor in the system, and that's
unless you're Ethereum dev.
Unless you're in Ethereum, then in Ethereum that's a whole different story.
Clearly paid someone $50 million.
We're just speaking about the Bitcoin blockchain right now, but yeah, with Ethereum that's a whole different story. Vladik has godlike powers over that ecosystem, so that's a whole different story. But yeah, I think so we got that out of the way. I think that was all the questions I had, Daniel. I think we covered them pretty good. Let me just double check.
That was fun.
Let me just double check here, but yeah, we pretty much talked about all this stuff. So super thanks for coming on, Daniel. We got all the stuff I wanted to talk about out of the way, which mainly was Segwit and Craig Wright. I wanted to talk about that a little bit more. So that's really awesome. So yeah,
I think Craig Wright got too much attention.
Yeah, I think so too, and continues to. But It's like a train, like you can't look away.
I will continue to defend the man until I meet people who have finished reading that article. Because since no one else but me has finished it, it makes me suspicious.
Then
I'm like, okay, then I'll be the only one.
I will say this: before the first time Craig Wright cropped up in the Bitcoin news and stuff, I thought it was an amazing. It sounded like, because there was that guy that died and with there's blood on his bed. And, yeah, I just thought it was a great murder mystery, a story, a clandestine novel or whatever they're called. And so when I saw this article, I liked the narration. So I'm considering just reading the whole thing into my microphone.
Please give me the link too. Did you ever paste that in, Dustin?
I did. We both did. We both put it in. Yeah.
Can you send me that one more time so I can put it in the show notes? Sorry.
I hate to say it. I don't usually like to criticize people's writing, but I think the reason a lot of people didn't finish it was because of the style that he wrote it in, which was extremely stylized writing.
Yeah, it was like a narrative, right?
Yeah, it doesn't fit the narrative of what the geeks who come in and they want to know certain issues, and here's their short list, and you got to just hit these points for us. He's telling a different story that's like a black and white film noir, him in the rain with Craig Wright. Yep. Craig Wright sobbing out the truths to him, and he's like, no, Craig, it'll be okay.
So what actually is a little bit more interesting is this notion of escrow. Can we just touch on that one more time just to clarify exactly how this escrow is occurring?
Which, for Lightning?
Yeah.
Okay. So normal escrow, you know how normal escrow works, right?
Right, yeah.
So if you put your Bitcoins in a wallet, if you just imagine you put your Bitcoins in a normal wallet, and then you take the wallet and you send the wallet to someone else, not sending the Bitcoin transaction, not sending the Bitcoin, just send the wallet to someone else. The wallet can arrive a lot faster than the normal Bitcoins could arrive because they require X amount of confirmations.
Right.
And so if you built a psychopathically secure system just around sending wallets back and forth between known players, you can speed up very large Bitcoin wallet transactions very fast, because instead of saying, I'm sending you Bitcoin, here's 1,000 Bitcoin in a wallet.
Well, the caveat there is that it's all cryptographically secure. So yes, I'm sending you my wallet with 1,000, Bitcoins in it. I like microtransactions better. So I might send you a 10 millibits, but you can't access it. The transaction is there. You can verify it. You know that I'm sending you the money. But then, as I want to make microtransactions, if I'm paying for downloads or something at 10 cents a download, every time I want to do one of those downloads,
that's a payment channel,
right? Isn't that what we're talking about? Lightning?
Sort of. He was wondering about escrow in general, and payment channels are part of the escrow.
No, okay. I was asking about the Bitcoin escrow. Yeah,
like the Lightning network.
Yeah. Okay, you're talking about micro.
And it does use multi-sig, of course.
Yeah. So maybe we should say escrow is just a function, or multi-sig allows for really good Bitcoin escrow.
Yes.
Right? That would be the right thing to say, and then that there's ways to do that.
You couldn't have Lightning Network without multi-sig.
It's not just multi-sig though. It's time locking too.
Yep.
So when
time lock verify.
Yep.
Right. Which is really cool. I'm going to take all my Bitcoins, I'm going to lock them up for 1,000 years. I don't know why I would do that, but I'm going to do that.
No, but you can lock it up for an X amount of time that you decide, and that's, that's very powerful stuff. And you can basically create smart contracts off of when you combine multi-sig with time lock verify. You can create some pretty powerful smart contracts just with that alone. But yeah. So very cool stuff. But I think that we're about out of time there, Electricity Hacker, if that's cool. I think we've about done that topic to death. It's about 10 o'clock over here my time, so it's getting late. Got work in the morning and all that good stuff, So super appreciate you guys for joining us. All the people in the audience and all the people watching afterwards, and for sure, of course, all my guests here tonight. Like to thank Electricity Hacker. Thanks for joining us, man. Where can we find you?
Here. Blab.
At William Rhodes.
Yeah. Well, you can email me. It's my last name RHOADES William1@gmail.com.
Cool. All right, Dustin, where can we find you, man?
Twitter is where most people find me at btcartgallery.com or the Twitter of that handle.
Yes, at BTC Art Gallery or btcartgallery.com. Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff, guys. I recommend everybody check it out. Daniel, where can we find you, man?
Yeah, it's same thing here, at me and BTC or me and BTC.com. We post the Bitcoin news show there. We post our own podcast there every Thursday. And once in a while, we'll get some commentary posts in there, opinion, reviews, and stuff. So that's all there. And just to clarify one more time, I'm not a huge fan of Pagely. I just got a free t-shirt. So
yes, no Pagely around here. Pagely sucks. No, I've never used it, so I don't know. I'm just going with what Daniel said. So thanks so much, guys, for joining us. We really had a great time talking Bitcoin. You know, we're going to be here, try to be here every other Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific. You can always find me, of course, on Twitter at theonevortex. And I think that'll about do us for tonight. So have a great evening, guys. Have a great day wherever you are, and keep talking Bitcoin. Until next time. See you later.